Hey, it's Jay, and welcome back to the Star Wars Chronicle. This is Chapter 5, where we're going to be looking at the next two episodes in the Clone Wars chronological viewing order, which is Season 3, Episode 1, Clone Cadets, and Season 3, Episode 3, Supply Lines. So, without further ado, let's get into Clone Cadets. So this episode is going to center around a group of trainee clones named Domino Squad. And they are going to be doing like a pre-graduation ceremony, kind of like an initiation of some sorts to be clones on the front line. Their goal is to make it to a citadel guarded by a simulated citadel, I should say, guarded by a bunch of false droid troopers, since that's what they're going to be fighting on the main lines. However, this group of 5, their teamwork is completely horrible. They're being overseen by I guess you'd say the leader, or the teacher, the teacher of these guys. His name is Brick. He's a bounty hunter. He's also viewing them with a Jedi Master named Shaak Ti, as well as LS, who is also, again, overseeing these clone trainees. Brick is so disappointed in their dysfunctionality that he actually suggests that they get put with cleaning duty with a failed clone named 99, who also failed his test and is now just a maintenance janitor custodian type clone. So there's really no faith going into this about this squad of 5, the Domino Squad. So Brick's assessment of this squad is proven very quickly to be true, because they're too busy arguing and fighting about who should do what and how they should do it. They're overtaken by these fake droids and they lose a simulation. Defeated, they head back to their chambers, and one of the clones, Echo, he's called Echo because he repeats all the rules and all the instructions that they're given constantly to his team, like an Echo. He constantly butts heads with one of the clone trainees named CT-782, who is all about, we gotta do things the way we need to do it, not the way we were told to do it. And so obviously those two ideologies can get a little conflicting. So a fight ensues between them, and Brick breaks them up, and he shows his disappointment. He saw true potential in this Domino Squad, and they're not living up to it. At the same time, in Tapoka City, Lama Su is considering failing them, thus, obviously they can't go to the front lines, but ultimately decides to leave it up to Shaak Ti, since she is the Jedi Master of this training exercise to get these clone troopers, my apology, ready for the front line. So it really is all up to Shaak Ti whether or not this group of misfits can join this big war that we're going to be, in the middle of for quite some time now. So it seems as though it's now time to show off for the big guns. And they bring in ARC Trooper Commander Colt and 2 other clones to oversee this ceremony, or these tests. The Bravo Squad passes in flying colors. It wasn't even an issue for them. And they do it in record time as well. However, now it's Domino's turn. And if their teamwork shows, they're not going to do too well, especially now the added pressure of being in front of these, seasoned clones. So they go in, and to no one's surprise, they fail. They fail because Droidbait, one of the clone trainees, is hit by enemy fire, and 782 is gung-ho about finishing the mission and isn't about rescuing his clone brother, and that's an automatic failure. It's kind of like in your driver's test. If you hit the cone, that's an automatic failure. This is the same situation here. And Colt comes down and just berates them for their mistakes, about how they're sloppy, they're not listening to instructions, they're leaving one of their own men behind, and they completely fail. So, as it all seems to be very glum for the Domino Squad, LS, he talks he talks for these guys, and it's like, I think they should have a chance to retake it. But Brick is like, there's no redeeming these guys. They pretty much saying they suck, and that there's no way they're going to do well if they do retake the test. And meanwhile, 99 is overhearing this entire conversation, because he kind of acts like they're like Mr. Miyagi kind of a guy, because they're always giving him advice and how like they could do it and things like that. So he overhears this and he's gonna go now pass this wisdom on to them to see if maybe he can whip these guys into shape. So that night, one of the other crew members, Fives, he's called that because his CT number is like 555, 1 or something. So it's like, instead of saying that, just call me Fives. Him and Echo go to Shock T and they're like, look, we want to get transferred to Bravo Squad. This squad clearly isn't working out. And Shock T pretty much tells them, no, you can't transfer out because if you can't even work together with the most dysfunctional of squads, what makes you think you can play along with the big leagues? Their main concern is CT 782's just complete disregard for everything that they've been training up until this point for. So of course she denies them. He also at the same time, Brick calls CT 4040 for reprimand, and he's trying his best. I think he's lost complete faith with them. I know that Brick has lost complete faith in these guys at this point, and he's trying his best to get them kicked out of the academy. And the way he's doing, he's trying to provoke 4040 from just to punch him, and that would instantly get them all kicked out of the thing because of his lack of expectancy with these guys. 4040 denies it. I mean, not denies it, but he refuses to hit him, and Brick unwillingly gives him his new nickname, which is now Cut Up. So now all the droids in this battalion have nicknames. You have Fives, Echo, Droid Bait, and now Cut Up. The only one who doesn't have a nickname is 782. So yeah, he refuses to fall for that trick. So they're still in the academy, and Shock T reveals that yes, they will get another chance to take this test the next day. So there's one last chance for these guys to actually prove themselves and prove Brick wrong, because it seems like he's the only one who has no faith in these guys left. So that night, 99 catches CT 782 trying to leave and go AWOL, go on his own, because same way that Fives and Echo are feeling, I feel like 782 is also feeling that way. 99 kind of gives him the nickname Heavy. He keeps calling him that, much to 782. Like, he's like, stop calling me that. And he's just, pleased with him. Like, you got to stay here. You got to help your squad. This is your squad. You may not like them. You may not agree with them. You may fight with them. But at the end of the day, this is your squadron. I need to be there for them, because I feel like they'll be there for you if the same situation arises. This pep talk works, and CT-782, who is no longer going by that, he takes 99's nickname to heart, and his words, obviously. So now he's Heavy, and he goes back, and he's ready to take on this test one last time with his squadron to see if they can pass. It's like a complete turnaround. They are nailing everything. However, when they reach to the final point, they realize that their cables to scale the wall are gone, and they need those. It turns out Brick took their cables in two types, and you can go either way. He either took them to potentially see them fail, or he took them to see if they can work on their toes. And while LS, objects to this, Shock T is like, well, I mean, if they go up against the Separatists, they're not going to be that fair either. So it's kind of like a situation where, yeah, these guys who are so dysfunctional really do need to be put on their feet to see if that dysfunctionality will come out during a real-life battle with some Separatists. So Domino Squad, not even deterred by this handicap, take out the turrets and use them as stepladders, and they're able to finally complete the test. Shock T congratulates Brick on making these seemingly hopeless clones into the best that they could possibly be, and he begrudgingly admits that LS was right the whole time about this group's vigor. They are given medals for graduation. However, Heavy gives his medal to 99 as a thanks for just building him up, not giving up on him. But he also gives it to him so as a reason to return to Camino to see 99 again. And they line up with the rest of their graduated clone brothers as they head off to the front lines. And that was Clone Cadets. I really like this episode because it shows what the clone troopers have to go through to make it to the front lines. I've always praised the dynamic because, yes, while all the clones look the same because they're clones, their personalities are what make them distinct. You know, in this episode, that's a perfect example. You have one who's pretty useless in Droid Bait, one who's by the book in Echo, one who is very much like Anakin, where he's just like, go, 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 I don't care what anybody else says, in Heavy. So you have different personalities, and I really like that. Because it's tough to get, you know, obviously you can never tell who's who because they all look the same. So their personalities really help define that. I love that aspect of the clones. But again, it's just a really great look and in-depth dive at how tough it might be to become a clone trooper. You know, obviously none of us would ever be, but if for whatever reason we got put in that situation, if relatively speaking in the Star Wars universe, it's nice to see what you'd have to go through because, you know, we've seen the clones in episode 2 and then all the Clone Wars episodes and the Clone Wars movie, but we never really get to see that behind the scenes type, you know, aspect of the clones where they get to, you know, go through their training. And it's also really nice to see this underdog team who pretty much everyone but one person has given up on really just fight back. I know it kind of seems like a cliched story arc, you know, the troublemaking team who can't seem to get anything right, and they come together in the end after some inspiring speech. But I really like the way it was handled because the whole team didn't get this whole spiel from 99. It was just Heavy, who seemed to be the most thick of all of them in terms of he's on his own page. So it was really cool to see how one person was able to swing one person, the most, you know, daft of the team, into a full-fledged, well-oiled machine. I really like that dynamic. And a great way, again, to just look at what it's like to graduate into the front lines. Really solid episode. I highly recommend it if you are curious on how the clones come to be. Not how they're made, I mean just how they get into the front lines in the first place. It's actually revealed in the episode that they use Jango Fett's blood to make these clones. So that's an interesting bit of trivia. But as Lama Su points out, it's tough because it's, you know, there's not that much left. So it's really, they have to really spread it thin to get these clones out. So that's a really interesting bit of trivia. And it's cool that they're mentioning Jango Fett, you know, who was killed by Mace Windu in Attack of the Clones. So that's an interesting bit of trivia too. But not much else I have to say on that. Let's move on to the next episode, Supply Lines. So to start this episode off, oh, and by the way, there's a couple new names, so I'll be glancing at my notes. The planet of Ryloth is under attack, and it's also blockaded by separatist forces. The attack is against Jedi Master Ima Gundai and his clone troopers, as well as the Twi'lek Resistance, led by Cham Syndulla. However, they're frankly getting their asses kicked, and their supplies are running dangerously low, which isn't helping the situation at all. So things are looking pretty grim for this, you know, group of fighters. So Master Dai, in order to try and get some supplies, reaches out to the Republic Relief Supply Fleet led by Admiral Dao. However, he's in no position to hand out supplies either because he is also under attack. So in a last-ditch effort and, you know, just one last cry for help, he reaches out to the Jedi Council, represented by Yoda, Mace Windu, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, trying to just get anything for them to work out. They also ask Senator Organa, who just finished a mission, and they send him out to go to the planet of Toydaria to ask King Katonko to use his planet as like a staging base. And they also enlist the worst character ever, Jar Jar Binks, to go help out with this mission. So Organa and Jar Jar are greeted, and kind of like a council, I guess you could call it, takes place. However, there's a little rift in there because the representative of the Trade Federation arrives by the name of Lot Dodd, who hears about Organa's mission by Count Dooku. I mean, is sent out by Count Dooku. Obviously, Organa and Jar Jar have no, you know, ill means behind this mission, but Lot Dodd points out that if Toydaria helps out the planet of Ryloth, they are now showing, because the planet of Toydaria is on a strict neutrality in the middle of this war. And if they help out Ryloth, they are now clearly taking sides, thus breaking neutrality, and that could make them a target of the Separatists. And that's something that the king has to really look after, because while it's their code to always help out those in need, he also has to look out for all his people. So it's a really conflicting scenario that they find themselves in. After a brief recess, and they come back, they all reconvene, unfortunately, the king sways in the favor of helping his people, so he doesn't, make Toydaria a trading base. He makes it, a staging base, sorry. He takes the side of Lot Dod. Or so you might think. So what do I mean by that? I mean that Katunko meets secretly with Senator Organa and Jar Jar and tells him, look, yes, I have to protect my people. That's my job as king. However, I am more than willing to help out those on Ryloth. I can't let them all be killed. And agrees to help Senator Organa load up supplies, as long as he can keep Toydaria's involvement a secret. Organa hatches a plan in which he's going to use Jar Jar as a distraction. So there's a big banquet between Lot Dod, Organa, Jar Jar, and King Katunko and all his, his council. And when the ships start to leave, Jar Jar performs this weird Gungan ritual, I guess you could call it. That's what he's saying it is, like a Gungan art piece, and he makes he throws plates and cups and they stack perfectly to make this really cool sculpture as a distraction, so that Lot Dod doesn't catch wind of the fact that there's some deceit going on with Katunko and the people of Toydaria to again preserve their neutrality in this war. And it seems to have worked, because Lot Dod is none the wiser. So on Ryloth, it seems as though morale is very, very low, because it seems like there's just no hope, And even Sundella is like, my people can't fight anymore. And I don't think the Republic's going to help us. This is a moot point. So they're all forced to retreat to safer ground. At the same time, Master Dai, to try and help these guys out as best as possible to get them to safer ground, he blows up a mountain pass to block off the main path to get to these guys, thus forcing the droids to go around a different way. However, that still proves to not really help, because they overpower them yet again. Captain Keeley, the clone Captain Keeley, is shot down, and just as it seemed like all is lost for Master Dai, there is an announcement that the supplies are coming, and Master Dai dies at the fate of the droids, but he dies content knowing that the Twi'leks will be safe. And they're able to get the supplies to the Ryloth people, thanks to the help of Toydaria. So, to end the episode off, Organa and Binks are heading home, but Dod comes back and is like, I know what you did. I received word that there were supplies given to the planet of Ryloth. You've broken your neutrality. And, because he really can't prove anything, Organa's like, alright, prove it. Obviously, Dod can't, so he storms off. And, it's really funny. And Toydaria's king Katunko, is like, in light of everything that's gone on, maybe I might reconsider my neutrality. So, and he invites the Jedi to come and have a talk with him, and maybe gaining another ally in this war. So now they have the Hutts, and they might get Toydaria. So this could bode very well for the Republic. And that was Supply Lines. Couldn't think of the name of the episode. Okay. Can I just start off this little review by saying I love the droids? They are so funny. They have these high-pitched voices, and they do so many you think of every dorky sidekick in movies that are at one point when Master Dai blows up that mountain pass, they're like, oh, it's okay, it's just a ship full of explosives. Wait, explosives? I love their person. I forgot to mention that in the Clone Wars movie review. I love the droids. They have such funny personalities for being robots. And they're just they're like the comic relief, I guess you could say. If every comic relief character you've ever seen on screen got lumped into an army, that's the droid army. It's absolutely hilarious. It's also really great to see how the Republic are utilizing people who may have not been their allies before, but they utilize their trust and their strengths and weaknesses to gain them to their side. In Tordaria's case, they know that they cannot leave a group of people without aid. That's just their code. So they use that, not against them, but they use that as a stepping stone to get their help. And it ends up paying in their favor because now it seems like King Katunko is going to consider his neutrality and join the Republic against the Separatists. So that's a really cool thing. Kind of like how they did with Jabba in the movie. Alright, as much as I hate to admit it, Jar Jar was pretty important to this mission. If he didn't do his little Gungan thing, they would have seen the ships, and then that would have been the proof that they needed to, now make Tordaria an enemy of the Separatists. So as annoying as he is, and as horrible of an accent as he has, he was helpful in this episode. I'll admit it, I'm a big boy. Let's hope he can kind of stay like this in this capacity where he's actually useful and does things to help out our heroes rather than just be an annoyance. Because I'll appreciate him way more. But yeah, the thing I also love about these two episodes is that it didn't focus on Anakin or Ahsoka or Obi-Wan. We had completely different characters to look at. Yeah, I understand that Obi-Wan and Yoda and all of them showed up in supply lines, but, it's an interesting dynamic to now see new characters join the fray. And I like that. I like that a lot. I don't think that every episode needs to be focused on our main heroes, you know what I mean? So it's cool to see, with the Twilocks, and it was just really, really great to see new characters like that, because the Star Wars lore and universe have so many colorful and interesting designs that I can't help but get invested whenever I see a new design like that. And it was just really interesting. It was really awesome to see Master die, Master die like that, because his only goal was to help these guys out. And yes, his life is over now, but if he could help these guys find supplies and find peace, that's all he needed. And that's really cool. So I like that dynamic in that aspect. And yeah, it's just a really, really solid show so far. I hope you guys are liking how I'm reviewing the episodes in chronological order rather than season order. But I just think this adds a new element to it because they were released out of order. I guess I still don't understand why they're released out of order, but I think this is an interesting way, so that way it's not bouncing back and forth, with prequels and anything like that. You could just watch it the way it was intended to be in chronological order, so you can see events as they happen. I think that's really cool. So I hope you guys are enjoying that, because it was really cool researching that. Star Wars has the order on their own websites, so it can't be, fan-made because it's actually official. But I'm really enjoying the Clone Wars. I'm excited to see more. If time permits, I really hope I can get another episode of the Star Wars Chronicle out by later this week, or very, very early next week. So I'm hoping that could be the case. So stay tuned for Chapter 6, where we take a look at the next two episodes in the Star Wars Clone Wars chronological viewing order, I guess. I don't know. That's a mouthful. I'll work on it. But yeah, I really enjoyed both these episodes because it just gives us a more dynamics of this war that we've been, it's called the Clone Wars. But we just got to remember, it doesn't just impact our main characters, it's impacting everybody. So that was a really cool dynamic to see in supply lines, and it was a really cool dynamic to see more of the life of these clone soldiers that we're going to be following for this entire saga of 7 seasons of this Clone Wars show. So really, really solid episodes. I love episodes that delve from the path of the norm of just following your heroes. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's all I have to say. Again, everything on Disney+. Everything's on Disney+. So take a look, watch it, view it, enjoy it for yourselves. Don't just take my word for it. Form your own opinions. But I think you'll enjoy it, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. So that's all I have to say, guys. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. That stuff really, really helps me out and validates what I'm doing here. So please consider doing so. And if you want to show it to maybe one or two of your friends to also help, that would really be appreciated as well. But I hope you guys are excited for the next part, coming very soon. And until next time, guys, that's a wrap.